Original. This is the Capitol Rundown.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Capitol Rundown. Thank you for streaming live with us. I'm Kara Sundlin. This is where we bring you the politics that matter to you from both sides of the aisle. We have former House leader on the Republican side, Themis, Klarides, and Democratic strategist Jimmy Tickey. These are our insiders, and boy, is it a wild day on Wall Street. Thank you both for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
Yeah, we're going to get right to it. The market swings have been happening over the last week, but we just had breaking news that President Trump has decided to pause all tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, except on China for 90 days. And I'm watching the markets soar right now. The Dow is up 2,529 points. It's up 6.8%. This is the biggest rally in 5 years. I mean, it just happened. We're now trading at 40,278 points at this moment. It was just like with the moment of the tariffs pausing, the market started surging back. Let's start with you, Themis. What is your take on this? Clearly, the market did not like tariffs, but we're wondering about how this is going to impact the economy and where do we go from here?
Well, the market likes certainty, right? And this couldn't have been more uncertain, what we've seen in the past week or so since these tariffs went into play. And clearly none of us liked what happened to the market. But when you look at the real intention of these tariffs, and I'm not defending them, but what I am defending is the reason for them. The reason for them is because there are countries, and this isn't just about reciprocal tariffs. This is about the fact these are non kind of tariff issues. So we saw last week when Vietnam came back and said, okay, we'll go to zero tariffs. And that should make people feel good because they're scared now because they don't want to have the tariffs we're putting on them. And we said, that doesn't really help us out because it's the non-tariff issues that are the problem. For example, if you look at Vietnam, you see that they buy $15 from us. We buy $15 from them to every $1 they buy from us. $5 of that $15 comes from China, who are trying to evade tariffs. They're circumventing the system, right? We look at the VAT that goes on products, 10% in Vietnam, 19% in the EU. We look at all the intellectual property stolen from these countries, from us. We look at agriculture that is being hurt on our end. We look at everything from kitchen appliances to cabinet making to shrimping, the list goes on and on. That is really the goal of these tariffs. And I will say this, clearly you have to balance what the end goal is, which will be lower taxes, more affordability in this country to what's happening to people now and the hurt that are going on people. You have to balance both of those things. And I don't believe that the way he did it was the most effective way and the safest way because it's hurting people and citizens of this country. But today's pause, I'm hoping, makes him go and negotiate with every one of these countries so that he can say to them, it's not just about the tariffs you put on us, it's the hurt you're putting on American citizens every day with all the other damage you're doing to this country.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think people are trying to understand this, and I want to get your perspective, Jimmy, from Democrats have been coming out saying this is just horrendous and we need to stop them now. What do you think about this tariff talk and what it's doing to the average person?
It's causing great harm for the average person. You look at what's been happening in the stock market over the last couple of days. It's been a loss of over $5 trillion in the stock market. That hurts our investments as a state for municipalities. And of course, it hurts everyone's 401ks and their own investments. And not only hurt Wall Street, but it hurt Main Street. We are seeing prices continue to increase. We are seeing inflation continue to rise. The things that we've spoken about on this show that people would see their cost increasing for foods, for fruit, for nutrition items, for vegetables, for our household appliances. It was the biggest tax increase this country has ever seen, and people spoke up. We saw rallies over the weekend. We saw people speak up and say they do not want this. They do not want these tariffs, which were half-baked, ill-advised. It was a list of over 60 countries with over 10% tariffs in every country. Some of these countries, mind you, weren't even inhabited by people. So I don't know who created this list, but it was a bad idea with a bad list. There are some targeted tariffs we should have, like on China, who steals our intellectual property. But going after our allies with these tariffs comes with a great cost. And so it was very harmful for everyday people. It was very harmful for the stock market, for our investments. We've lost over $5 trillion, and we'll see how long it takes to gain that back. But the haphazard nature, not knowing what will come out of the White House every day, is very dangerous for business, for the stock market, for the certainty that people expect every single day. And it wreaked havoc on the stock market and on people's investments, the nest eggs that people really do count on. They never put any tariffs on Russia or North Korea, but they did put tariffs on so many of our allies, and that comes with a great harm.
Yeah, Themis, we saw some Republicans start to break a little bit, even people who, like investors, we had Bill Ackman, who was really against the tariffs and sort of backpedaled. We had Republicans saying, wait a minute here, I don't want my farmers affected, or who am I going to choke if this doesn't work? Do you think this has anything to do with the pause, or will Trump listen to some of the people who are saying we can't do this? Where do we go from here?
I don't think we'll ever know why he does what he does. But I will say this. Clearly, he wants to make sure that these countries that we're talking about, and, you know, to Jimmy's point, it's not just China. You know, people ignore the whole Vietnam issue. People ignore Germany. These countries are very, very heavily dependent on exporting to our countries. And that is not just about, you put a 10% tariff on us, we put a 20% tariff on you. As I mentioned before, it is intellectual property being stolen. It is hurting our farmers and our agriculture and cabinet makers and kitchen appliances. I mean, from the list goes on and on. And so, you know, the dumping that goes on from these countries, you know, that hurts the environment. And so that is really the focus. It is about the non-tariffs. And I think putting the tariffs on was a way to leverage those non-tariffs. Now, again, I said before, and I'm going to say it again, I think, you know, it's about a scalpel and not a hatchet. And this hatchet hurt the stock market enormously. It hurt everyday people. It hurt rich people. It hurt poor people. It hurt everybody. Mm-hmm. And that is not a way to do it, because you have to balance the hurt that you're going to feel. Although they're claiming we're going to see huge tax cuts and help with the economy along the way. But in the short run, that doesn't make people feel any better. But I will say this, the problem that we need to resolve is the fact that these countries have been hurting us for years and years, and somebody has to do something about it. But hurting people in the short run is not the way to do it.
Jimmy, one more take on this, and then we will move on to also our own raising costs with car taxes here in Connecticut. But right now, as of this breaking news, the Trump tariffs have dropped to 10% universal rate for every country except China. China has said it will not back down. Do you agree that with what Themis is saying, that we have a lot of unfair practices and we need to fix it? The question is how, and what's the alternative?
Yeah, absolutely. And this has actually been one of those issues that has been bipartisan in terms of going after China in the tariffs that exist. And we should have targeted tariffs for places like China that steal our intellectual property and so many other concerns that come with China. And we should be mindful about where we're having tariffs and the benefits that it has to the United States of America. The half-baked idea, though, that we heard a couple of days ago, which caused great harm for people, was tariffs across the board in every country going after our allies. That came with great economic harm. And so tariffs that are in a targeted way, that are thoughtful, that are a way to protect our intellectual property and to protect our country, yes. But going after countries that don't even have people living on them, it was a country of penguins and an island of penguins that they put tariffs on. It is tariffs on Canada and Mexico and so many of our allies that we work with. We are in a global economy, and you can't just willy-nilly wake up one day slapping tariffs on countries and not expect them to retaliate. And we were beginning to see 20, 30, sometimes 80% increases in the cost of goods. And so keep in mind, what we just saw happen in the stock market and the devastation that hit so many people's 401ks and nest eggs was not because of an external force, which has often and always been the case. It wasn't a dot-com bust, or it wasn't the COVID pandemic. This was because of one man who decided to slap on tariffs across the country, and we lost over $5 trillion in many investments that will take time to make up.
Yeah, right now, just to give everyone a perspective, it's up 2,568 points right now. I'm also seeing some breaking news that 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 Besant, who is helping Trump with advising on all this, says that this was his strategy all along. He wanted to goad China into a bad position and do negotiations on his own. So I guess we'll see what's going to happen. It's certainly, I think, on both sides of the aisle, people have been a little terrified and wondering how one person could have this much power. We'll see what Congress decides to do. I do want to move us on in our time together and talk about car taxes, because if you've been reading the papers, there's an issue brewing. Towns are concerned that the new calculation for car tax in Connecticut is hurting towns. And I'm wondering, I think other people are wondering, well, what's that going to do to the average driver? And that will we have to make up this money in some other way with town taxes? Let's start with you, Themis.
Well, the way we calculate car taxes in the state of Connecticut is the state would give each town a formula, so to speak, and that formula was based on the average retail value of your car. Mm-hmm. Once COVID hit, that changed, because as we all know, anybody who tried to buy a car post-COVID, used cars were going for a crazy amount of money. And new cars were going for a crazy amount of money. So they changed it from the average retail price, which was what the property car tax was based on, to MSRP. So the sticker price in layman's terms. And what the town could do is they could take 80% in the first year of that price, and that would be your car tax. And then in the second year, it would go down 5%. So 75%, then 70, and so on for 20 years. What the legislature did last year is they changed that to 85% and then to 90%. So you could take 90% now of that sticker price and charge you the car tax. But you don't have to do it. The state gives the town the option of doing that. So if your legislative body, your board of selectmen, your town council, your city council, et cetera, wants to vote to make it 90% and they use the 90%, they can do that. Now, towns like West Hartford, we've read about, towns like Middletown, we've read about, that got big hits when that percentage moved from 80 to 85%, from 85 to 80%, excuse me. They will, I'm sure, vote to change that, but it gives each town the choice. And I think that's very important, because we all know that these property taxes are based on mill rates, and mill rates in each town are different. So you can have one car, the same exact car in one town, and the town next to you, that car would be, much more for a property tax. So I think it's really important to give towns the choice to figure out what's best for them and what's the best option for them.
So just before we move on to Jimmy for his take, if you're wondering if your car tax is going to go up, are we going to find that out soon? And how do we determine if it's going to affect us?
Well, I would just call your town or your city and ask them, what percentage your property tax is based on. And then, as always, follow your local, whether it's a city council, town council, whatever the case may be, and see what they're trying to do. If they're trying to increase it, like I said, we've heard vocally from towns like Middletown, from West Hartford, that said that it was really hurting them. They've lost millions and millions of dollars, and they would like the option of being able to charge more, because if they don't charge more on the car tax, then they're going to have to raise taxes otherwise.
Okay. Jimmy, what do we do about this? What's your take?
Yes, well, first, thank you, Themis, for explaining the tax policy, because it's important that people understand this was a change that was made really because we were seeing the prices of cars increase, even the resale price of cars increase throughout COVID. And so the state tried to respond in a way that said, okay, instead of using your car tax based on what that resale value, as we saw resale value spiking during COVID, it now goes with the suggested market price of the car. And so the intent was to see that it might bring down car taxes. And for some, it may. For some, it may, as you see how your car depreciates over time and what that suggested retail price is. It really is different for every car and in every town. And in some cases, people may see a smaller car tax, but it's not the case across the board. And so the state left it with the towns to opt in to the prior program, which we had with that depreciation rate based on the resale value of the car, or they could use the new option, which is a different depreciation rate, and it's around the suggested price of the car. It's really up to the towns, and towns are taking a look at it. In some Some are deciding that the earlier formula makes sense for them, and some are keeping with what we have now. It really is a case-by-case basis, and it allows people to take a look at their car taxes. And if it is a smaller car tax, that's obviously a benefit to the individual, that they're paying less in car taxes. Of course, for municipalities, they have a budget to meet. And so if they're getting less on the car taxes, they need to take a look at their whole budget, which towns are in the middle of right now for these next several weeks, and looking at their local budget, looking at that mill rate, car tax, property tax, and making sure that they can make ends meet with the new formula based on the state.
All right, bottom line, check your car taxes.
When they put in that new formula after COVID in 2023, a lot of people saw lower car taxes, and that means there was less money revenue that was going to the town or city, and that's why some of those towns or cities were complaining.
So we might be going back up. Okay, so we got taxes, we got tariffs. I want to talk tourism. That might be one way, if we get more money in tourism, that people could get some tax relief. Maybe that's a bipartisan issue. We have a huge parade coming up on Saturday for the Yukon women. People on both sides of the aisle, people all over the world are acknowledging Connecticut as the basketball capital of the world. Certainly the women pulling off a record with 12 championship titles. Is there an opportunity to do more than rah-rah, but actually turn this into something that's good for Connecticut's economy? Let's start with you, Themis.
Well, I mean, where Connecticut has now become basketball and pizza, right? We are the basketball and pizza capital of the world. And, you know, we've seen, so proud of Yukon Husky women and what they've done. Girl power right there, I'll tell you that. But yeah. You know, we talked previously on this show about the lack of housing and guaranteed housing at the University of Connecticut stores. And I believe part of that is in the past 20 years, the University of Connecticut has become so much more popular because basketball has put us on the map. And that's a great thing. Now, it's a bad thing for housing because they need to build more housing and make sure that especially our in-state students have a place to live. But it has made us more popular in the country. It's not just Connecticut students. It's not just people that live down the street. Oh, you know what UConn is. I mean, people, you go in different parts of the country. So I think that has been great for tourism. Pizza, you know, I'm from New Haven, the New Haven area, as is Jimmy. And you know, we understand that New Haven pizza is the best pizza in the country. And so people are actually coming to Connecticut to say, I want to try Sally's or Pepe's or Modern or whatever the case may be, or Roseland and Derby. And they're staying. Or they're driving, say, to Vermont or New Hampshire or Maine, and they're stopping on the way. And when they're stopping, they may end up going to, say, the Peabody Museum, or they may go to the Beinecke Library, or they may stop somewhere along the way. And that's just going to bring more people into the state of Connecticut and try our other restaurants and other great things we have in Connecticut. So I think both of those things have been amazing for tourism in this state, and they're just going to continue.
Yeah. Jimmy, it's all good. I just had Modern Pizza on Sunday night. It was actually my first time. I'd only had Sally's and Pepe's. It was amazing. I loved it. But it seems to me that, you know, the governor says he wants more tourism. What'd you say?
You have to go to Roseland in Derby.
You got to go to Roseland too. Yeah. Okay. So it seems to me that there's an opportunity here, Jimmy. What's your take on?
Absolutely.
Is there something to capitalize
Absolutely.
on?
Yes, absolutely. We should. Congratulations to our Yukon women. I mean, best in the world basketball. We've got the best pizza in the country. We've got awesome music venues popping up all across the state. So proud of them. The arts, the culture that's happening across the state of Connecticut. You cannot beat Southern New England for all 4 seasons. Connecticut is the place to be. For every dollar that the state invests in tourism, it's estimated that we get back about $6 to $7. So I am all about investing in tourism, making sure that people know from the pizza to the basketball to the 4 seasons, from the ocean to our trails, to our brewery trail, to the antique trail. We got trails for everything in Connecticut. It really is the place to be. And everyone comes through Connecticut as they're traveling through New England or going to New York. And so we want people to stop in Connecticut and patronize our businesses and be out there, come to a basketball game. Best pizza in the world right in New Haven, but it really has been wonderful to see that people are really taking such great pride in our state. We need more of that. It's a great place to be. There are always things to work on, but when you see what's happening and the attention that we're getting across the country and across the world, particularly with our basketball and our Yukon women, we're just so proud of them, and we should be investing in our in our tourism and our arts and our culture as a way to get people out and to engage in their community and to shop local as well.
Yeah, shop local for sure, especially when you're going. I encourage everyone, if you're going to the parade at 11 a.m. on Saturday, check out all the amazing places in downtown Hartford. Go grab a pistachio martini at Salute. Go see Vaughn's on Pratt Street. Go check out Hartford Print. So many great things. So that is a great story to tell from both sides of the aisle. Thank you both to our insiders for being here. So much to talk about today. So thanks for streaming with us, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we will break some of this down for you and have it on Eyewitness News on Channel 3 at 4 o'clock tonight. In the meantime, thank you for being here on WFSB Plus for this WFSB Plus exclusive. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 o'clock for the Capitol Rundown.